Today I would like to talk about version control and reproducibility and how that is an important part in data stewardship and data management. And I would like to start with this question, and I can explain the pictures a bit. So, what is your data management like? Do you put all your files just on your hard drive, like in a basket, and if you need something, you start searching? Or do you organize it a bit and put it, structure it by different types or different projects, but not necessarily know how to put these pieces together again? Or, and that's what I would like to explain you today, do you follow the onion model? And I will show you, if you look at the onion model, you see that all these rings nicely fit together, and even if you put them apart, you still can fit them all together again. And imagine the outer layer as your result or your paper, and all the layers underneath as the evidence and the steps in between to come up with this conclusion. So I will show you an example of how you can apply this. And I will start with the question, why version control? Well, if we look in our daily life, probably this morning you had an egg with your breakfast. And if you look at this egg, you see a code. And this code shows you the type of the egg, so whether it is a biologic egg or a free range egg, or it shows you the country where it comes from. It shows you the company where it was produced, and it even shows you in this company the compartment where it came from. If you order a pizza, you often see something like this. And let's not discuss today whether this is reality or just a psychological trick to give you the impression that they are working on it. But nevertheless, you see the steps that are taken and where it comes from. And also, when you order something online, you see similar information where you can see the status of your parcel. So why version control? If we use this kind of principle in our daily life and are used to this, and if the tools are available, why don't apply it in our professional work, in our science? You can easily see what the steps are that you took and how it progressed over time. If you cooperate, you can see who did what. You can have your work reproducible because everything is tracked, and you always have automatically a backup. So there is no reason not to use it. And I will show you an example from my previous position where I did the data management for the sand motor research project. This is a picture of the sand motor. That is a big nourishment along the Dutch coast as a pilot project to follow how the sand that was put here, more than 20 million cubic meters, how this developed and over time, and how the sand is being redistributed by waves, currents, and wind. Just a bit about version control. This very slideshow is also in the version control. And version control gives you information on who did contribute, when the changes are made. It gives you a revision number and it gives you a URL. So you can always see who did what and when. Well, to come back to the sand motor, here I have two pictures of the elevation level of the sand motor. So you see in blue, you see the sea, and in more brown and green colors you see the land, the beach. And these are two time slices of the same data set. And with these figures I put the QR codes in the corner. And if you check these QR codes, you will end up with a script that creates these figures. So both separate figures have unique QR codes. If you go to these QR codes and you visit the URL, you can also, with the version control system, you can see the development over time. So there were 3 individual versions listed here. From bottom to top, I started with creating a script to plot one of these figures, the left one. And then in the next stage, I changed the time slice. I provided some information on what I did to help myself and see what was going on. And here you see a screenshot of the code to create these figures. So on the left hand side, you see the code for the left hand figure of some slides ago, and on the right hand side you see for the other figure. And this is a difference. So the differences are highlighted, and in the top you see information on the version and where to find it. And here you see information on the time index. And I didn't properly comment that it is a time index, but if you look into the code, you know how to read it, you can find it out, and you also can contribute probably. So what I did for the first figure, I said, well, time index 0, and for the other figure, time index -1, which means the last. And looking into this code, you also see, well, you probably cannot read it, but here is a DOI of the dataset used to create this plot, and also the URL of the data file in particular that was underneath. By going to this DOI, you end up in the 4TU Center for Research Data and see all the important information about this data set and who worked on it and where it came from. And you also see in the bottom the individual data files listed. So I took one of these data files to create these figures. But if you follow the onion model, so I now went one layer towards the core. But of course I would like to go further. So I continue peeling off. This data file, where does this come from? Well, if we look in the data file, then there is also metadata involved. This is a screenshot of this data file. It is a particular format, netcdf. I don't go into the details, but the nice thing is that you can put unlimited metadata inside the file. And we call that global attributes. And you can go further down here, but I have no browser, so I put it in a slide. And if I use a small piece of code, I can extract especially the information that I'm interested in. So I compose the URL of the data file, and then I say, well, I would like to have information about the source and about the history. And the source, that is a URL again, also of a version control system. And in the history, you can see that a particular Python script was used on a certain date with a certain revision number. So you exactly can see where this came from and how it was produced. So, and then you also can have a look at this script to create this particular data file. So that is again one layer to peel off. And here you see also coded people that contributed and URLs of these companies and institutions that were also in the metadata when you looked up the DOI. So to come to the conclusion, after a preview of the onion model, I would say make your research reproducible and keep the onion model in mind. So maybe no carrots, no sticks, but just the onion model, and have a close look and smell it, and don't cry, but make your research reproducible.